Hello everyone, I am Armaya Fox, a horror-obsessed furry with my first ever movie review. The world of horror games owes a lot to the Resident Evil franchise, doesn't it? Ever since its original release in 1996, Resident Evil went on to create an entire genre, survival horror, which is honestly my favorite genre of video games. But there is one game that predates Resident Evil, which Resident Evil itself owes a lot to, and that game is Sweet Home for the Japanese Famicom. Only officially released in Japan, Sweet Home was a tie-in with a Japanese horror film of the same name, both released in 1989. Resident Evil was supposedly going to be a remake of this game, so I figured why not honor the birth of survival horror by going back to its roots with Sweet Home. Armaya Fox presents Sweet Home Review Part 1, the movie. The only way to view the movie with English subtitles is through a VHS rip, because the film never got a DVD or Blu-ray release, because the film's director, Kiyoshi Kurosawa, later disowned the film because of producer interference, and has since refused to allow a re-release on home video. Does this movie truly deserve this attempt to bury it? Or is there actually something of worth to it? Let's find out. The VHS rip starts with a commercial for the Famicom game, but the subtitler didn't subtitle it. At one point I swear I hear the announcer say Sega Saturn. You're about 6 years too early, dude! Oh, it was made by Toho, the same company that is most famous for creating Godzilla. I hope there's a giant monster in this movie. When the film starts, we see a television crew in a sandstorm waiting around for the director to get permission to visit Mamiya Mansion, to find the last fresco he painted before he died. The question on my mind isn't will they get permission, but instead, do sandstorms occur in Japan? I thought they only occurred in deserts. Despite there being a curse on the mansion, the officials give the crew the keys because whether they live or die, they'll get publicity for their town. Yup, people are gonna die just for someone else's 15 minutes of fame. What else is new? This music says something whimsical is about to occur. Taguchi can barely break chains with his bare hands. Asuka is reading from her script for their documentary, and a piece of the house nearly falls on Kazuo. You don't say! So here they find the fresco in the dining room. Taguchi knocking down these rocks to break a lock is an important plot point. While the crew uses a vacuum on the fresco, Emmy wanders on her own. That probably wasn't anything supernatural. It was probably just the dust that accumulated during the past 30 years. Oh, by the way, remember this image. It will be a recurring image in the game. They discover more murals surrounding the dining room where they found the first one. Images include what looks like a safe on fire, black hair all over one, like an onryo, and a funeral casket for a baby. Well, looks like someone left themselves open for possession. No, seriously, that's actually what happens. Okay, that's not what happens. I edited that in. We see Emmy wearing a yellow dress, and she explains that it was her mother's, but she doesn't remember her at all except as a bright silhouette. Uh-oh, a bath scene. I hope I don't have to censor anything. He's turned into Kayako Saeki! I love the Ju-on films! No! Don't dig up the H.R. Geiger egg! You'll get a face hugger to the face! Talk about a face only a mother could love. That kind of thing happens to me all the time. Only it's not a car I'm humping. Luckily, Akiko is there to save him.
ですかそれ。
お守りみたいなもんさ。しかしそんじょそこらにあるような代物じゃない。本物だ。
おいくらでしょうか。
You sure about that, are you? Akiko says no to the cliché of the old man warning the kids not to go to the old dark house next to the cabin in the woods that is built on an Indian burial ground.
あれ、なんだこれ。
Don't know what they're so shocked about. We already saw that in an earlier scene.
ご迷惑おかけしましたわ。私、帰りますから。
Does that mean we can go home now? Note to self, never let possessed people drive.
取れちゃった。
And if the crash didn't damage the car enough, this dumbass will make it worse. She's just doing her Count Orlok impression. And now she's doing her impression of my dad. Give her a round of applause, everybody.
どうしたの？こんなとこで。アスカ。ねえ、アスカ。
I make it a rule never to get involved with possessed people.
みんな死ぬわよ。みんな死ぬ!
Lady, even if the shadow knows, that was still an overreaction. Hey, look who's no longer possessed. Don't run back the way you came, stupid bitch. Run out the front door. Now let's play a game, everyone. How much of this next scene can I show on YouTube? Place your bets, everyone. Come on down. "7 seconds! Who bet on 7 seconds? Come right up and claim your prize."
Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
This is a genuinely good stop-motion effect shot. I wish they used it more in this movie. The most humane thing at this point is just to put him out of his misery. She's fine, but she's gonna have one hell of a headache. Well, that's a fine way to greet someone. I told you that would become an important plot point. Well, there's your problem. This house has an active volcano inside of it. Kid, if that was your mother, she wouldn't be killing your friends.
お父さん、おいでよ。お母さん、お父さんが来たよ。
Great, Emmy's possessed now too. Don't shine lights in my face! Help! We're being attacked by feathers! We finally get an explanation for what's going on. Back when the Mamiya family still lived there, they had a baby whose life was short-lived because its mother turned on the furnace, not knowing it was playing inside of it. Out of her despair, she began kidnapping children in the surrounding area, and throwing them in the furnace as well. so her baby could have playmates in heaven. When the villagers found out, they cornered Lady Mamiya, who threw herself into the furnace, and now she's back as a ghost.
アキコさん、あんた子供いるんだっけ？
いいえ。
じゃあ難しいぞ。ただの女が母親に勝つのは生優しいことじゃない。いいか。子供を失った母親と母親を失った子供の気持ちが引き合ってるんだ。
Well, for once I'm glad to be fatherless and not motherless. Good God, this movie has become a musical now. He fooled us, it wasn't a glass bottle but a rubber one. Well, somebody certainly read the handbook for the recently deceased. Mr. Yamamura decides to sacrifice himself for 3 strangers he only met today. I wonder why. Oh yeah, because the plot has to happen, that's why. And that is about all I could show of this absolutely amazing special effects scene. But I can't describe it to you. All the flesh burns off Mr. Yamamura's body until he becomes a skeleton, and then his skeleton crumbles to bits. Amazing scene, but I can't show it. Of course, just when they are about to make their escape, Emmy gets kidnapped again. We can't end the movie too early now, can we?
アキちゃん、僕行ってくるよ。もし無事に戻れたら、その時は。しゃー！
He lives. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to spoil that. Oh, come on, we just reburied that thing a few hours ago, and now you're gonna dig it back up?
There's no respect for the dead here. I should let sleeping bones lie.
This is the closest thing we get to nudity in this movie. Just put a board over it like you do in the video game. Or you could try jumping it. With how much difficulty Akiko is having getting in there, I wonder how the baby got in. Great, now Lady Mamiya is a one-ghost Auschwitz. That joke was too dark even for me, I apologize. Then she wonders why Emmy isn't screaming in agony, and realizes this is an illusion by Lady Mamiya. And indeed it is, as she finds Emmy, the vision ends. Do I hear final boss music? And before any damage even gets done to her, she already mutates into her final form. She must be really pissed off. This animatronic is something I truly wish I could see in high def. Of course, throwing random junk, a ghost's greatest weakness. I love how the expression on the ghost suddenly calms when it sees the child-sized doll that is supposed to be her dead baby. Just like the way Emmy described her memory of her mother. I don't know why she gets to go to heaven. She did terrible things in life and death. See, I told you he lives. But I forgot to mention he had the amulet from earlier. Oh well. Gotta love a happy ending. Of course, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil story unless the location gets destroyed at the end. And that was Sweet Home. And what do I think about it? It's definitely like no other Japanese horror flick I've seen. It's nothing like your Ringu or your Ju-on the Grudge. This is more like if Poltergeist had a baby with the Evil Dead, and that baby was raised in Japan. In other words, it's friggin' awesome! This could easily be on my top 5 favorite horror films from Japan. It didn't deserve such harsh treatment from its director as to never get a re-release. I hope someday Kiyoshi Kurosawa changes his mind, and we can finally get a Blu-ray high-def version of this film. Tune in for part 2 later this month where we will play the game Sweet Home for the Famicom. Until then, this is Armaya Fox, a horror-obsessed furry, signing off.